Section 8.3 is about equations in quadratic form. So our objectives in this section are to solve equations that lead to quadratic equations, solve applied problems involving quadratic equations, so that's a couple word problems, solve radical equations that lead to quadratic equations. We learned about radicals in chapter 7, and solve equations that are in quadratic form but may not necessarily look like quadratic equations. So in order to solve a rational equation that leads to a quadratic equation, I need to multiply by the LCD first off, because no one likes working with fractions. So the LCD in this case is going to be x times x minus 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x times x minus 1. So that gives me 4x, x minus 1 over x minus 1 plus 9 times x minus 1 equals 7x, x minus 1 over x. And you may have seen, okay, my x's are going to cancel, my x minus 1s are going to cancel, but I like to write out every possible step when making these videos for you guys. So I have 4x plus 9 times x squared plus x equals 7 times x minus 1. Okay, let's do some. Multiplying of 4x plus 9x squared plus 9x is 7x minus 7. Let's combine like terms. 9x squared minus 7x minus 7x plus 6x plus 7x plus 7 equals 0. Okay, so now I have a quadratic equation and I can solve that. I can solve that by finding the factors of a, c that add to b. I can solve it by completing the square, which isn't my favorite thing to do in a is not 1. And I could also solve this by quadratic formula. So let me think real quick though. Are there any factors in 9 and 7, so AC, which is 63, that add up to B, which is 6? I'm just thinking real quick. So I've got 9 times 7, I've got 3 times 21. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula. So I have A is 9, B is 6, and C is 7. Let me give us a blank space to solve this. So like I said, A is 9, B is 6, and C is negative 7, right? Nope, they're all positive. Oops. Okay, so A is 9, B is 6, C is 7. X is negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. So I have X is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 9 times 7 all over 2 times 9. So X is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 252 over 18. So I have X is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 216 all over 18. 216 factors into a 2 times 108, which is a 2 times 54, which is a 2 times 27, which is a 9 times 3, which is a 3 times 3. So I can pull out a factor of 2, a factor of 3, and I'm left with 6. Oh, I have to pull out an I first. So I have negative 6 plus or minus 6i square root of 6 all over 18. And I can pull out a factor of 6, so I have negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 6 over 3 is our final answer. And those are our two solutions. So let's solve this radical equation that leads to a quadratic. So to solve a radical equation, the first thing I want to do is square both sides, because that gets rid of our radical. So I have x squared is 9x minus 8. So I have x squared minus 9x plus 8 is 0 because I wanted to move those over in order to get this into standard quadratic form, which it is now. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so why did I just sing that? I have A is 1, B is negative 9, and C is a positive 8. So first thing I want to do is see, okay, are there any factors of AC that add up to B, which is negative 9? Well, how about negative 8 times negative 1? Ooh, nice. So I have x minus 8 times x minus 1 is 0. So x minus 8 is 0, meaning x is 8. And x minus 1 is 0, meaning x is 1. But remember, this started out as a radical equation. So the first thing I have to do always, always, always is check my solutions. So if I have 8 is the square root of 9 times 8 minus 8, that means 8's the square root of 72 minus 8, so 8 is the square root of 64. That's true. I have 1 is the square root of 9 times 1 minus 8. 1 is the square root of 1. That's true. So these are both solutions, but because it was a radical, we needed to check.